it is important in this we call physical reality to be able to set healthy boundaries so that we can bring through our authentic self-expression and the ability to stand for our self. So be able to set healthy boundaries and say no if we mean no and say yes if we mean yes is an important part of standing in our authentic self-expression, and is an important part of self-respect for the physical and the non-physical self. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me today for this energetic, intuitive reflection, activation if you so want. This conversation is less for the mind and more for the heart to comprehend and understand. Because the mind is finite and cannot quite comprehend the endless possibilities, abilities, capabilities of the eternal consciousness that our true essence is. So this intuitive reflection conversation is a conversation heart to heart and consciousness to consciousness. Today I feel guided to speak a bit about the ability of having self-respect and the ability to set healthy boundaries in this what we perceive as physical external reality. I made a video last week about authentic self-expression with connection to the throat chakra, the heart chakra, and the crown chakra if you so want. And this video today is an addition to the video I made last week about authentic self-expression. Now, I had initially meant to talk about healthy boundaries and self-respect in that same video last week, but it turned out to be too long because I have a tendency to talk a lot. And so I decided to make a separate video as an addition to last week's video. So this video this week will be about the ability to set healthy boundaries and to find healthy self-respect. Now, self-respect, in addition to being connected to authentic self-expression, is also connected to unconditional self-love and self-acceptance. Because if we do not unconditionally accept and love ourself, which is our physical self, the physical body, and then the non-physical self, the essence of what we are, if you so want, including also our emotions and our mental state, because all of that is connected in this seemingly physical reality. Yes, so if we do not have the unconditional self-love and self-acceptance, it is very difficult to find unconditional self-respect, and this also leading to not being able to unconditionally respect perceived other bodies, beings in this reality. Okay, so the self-respect is quite important, and again, it is linked to authentic self-expression and unconditional self-acceptance and self-love. And it is also linked to the ability to set healthy boundaries, because if we do not respect ourselves enough, this physical body and the non-physical alike, then it is very difficult to set healthy boundaries for this seemingly physical experience. I hope that makes sense. So I wanted to go a little bit into more detail for that subject. And again, it would have been too much for last week's video, so hence this separate video, but yet still connected to my previous videos. And if you haven't watched my previous videos, feel free to go back, and not just last week's video. I made a video about self-acceptance and self-love, and that also includes self-denial, which is a separate video, but yet it's still connected. Basically, all of the videos I'm making, if you're new to my videos, all of the videos I'm making are interwoven and interlinked. Not necessarily always with the same topic, but yet all the topics are connected. And if you have perhaps difficulties comprehending one of the later videos, the newer videos I made, it may help to go back to look at some of my older videos from previous months that may hold information that you may not find in this video, but yet it may still be helpful. So again, last week I had spoken about the importance of authentic self-expression, and I had also mentioned the differences between the truth and authenticity, which a lot of people think is the same or feel is the same. And by my own personal opinion, it is not. There is a difference between the truth and authenticity, authentic self-expression. So you can look back at that video from last week if you're having questions about that. So I don't want to go into too much detail here. I just wanted to mention that it is connected to the throat chakra and the heart chakra, and that also the ability to set healthy boundaries is connected to the throat chakra and the heart chakra. You will find that people who lack self-respect, who do not, it doesn't matter if you're not respecting your emotions, if you're not respecting your mental, your thoughts, your mind, if you so want, if you don't respect your physical body or only respect some of it, if you lack a certain amount of self-respect, respect for self, yes, then it is very difficult to set healthy boundaries, because you just don't have that respect for your own self, and then you do not feel the need or lack the ability, the capability to set healthy boundaries in this seemingly physical reality. By my own, and you do not have to take any word I say. You can validate everything I say, everything you find as information, and I implore you to do that, because not every physical body holds the same information or shares the same. Now, we have all access to the same information, but it depends on the physical body, how and to what extent that information comes through. I hope that makes sense. So not every physical body shares the same information. Yes, even though we have all access to the same information, but not every physical body shares that same information. So it's always good to go within, and if you have questions, ask yourself these questions, because you have all the answers. There is nothing that I know that you do not know. But are you aware of it? Are you aware, and do you have access to all that information that you can access? Yes? Or are you holding any beliefs that prevent you from accessing your authentic self? And that comes with discernment and authentic self-expression and the information, what people call inner knowing or intuition. Yes? That information from what some bodies call the higher self or the higher consciousness is accessible to every body, every physical body. Yes, but somebody have more awareness and have if you want easier access, hello hawks, than other bodies. Yes, so it comes down to your inner standing and how much you have worked on your physical and non-physical self. Yes, and to the beliefs and memories and stories that you're holding in your head. Again, it is all what this physical body holds, what your physical body holds, that is either preventing or enabling you to have access to higher consciousness, higher information, whatever you want. It's just a label. It's not really higher information. It's just the physical body can only hold so much information because of its density. Yes, and if your mind is cluttered with all kind of external information, you may not have room to bring in your higher consciousness, your higher self, or higher information, or whatever you would like to label it. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. So let me speak about self-respect a little bit, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but because it is very much linked to the ability to set healthy boundaries, I wanted to touch on it. And you can go back and look at my 2 videos I have about self-acceptance and self-love, and also self-denial. That is linked to self-respect. Now, if you hold a lot of rejection for your own either physical body or your emotions or your mental state, your mind, then there is definitely a lack of self-respect. Yes, and with lacking self-respect, it is again difficult to be able to set healthy boundaries. It all kind of is interwoven and connected and goes hand in hand. It all comes down initially to the heart and the ability to bring in your authentic self-expression and the ability to have unconditional self-love and self-acceptance. Once you have unconditional self-love and self-acceptance, it brings in that authentic self-expression, and it brings in, or it enables unconditional self-respect, and it also enables the capability for setting healthy boundaries. Yes, so it is all connected, and in order to have that unconditional and healthy self-respect, yes, the ability to respect your physical, your non-physical, so emotions, thoughts, and all that is connected to that awareness, to that unconditional self-love and self-acceptance. If you cannot accept yourself for what you are, if you're constantly up in your mind, whether you have negative self-talk or you're in a fantasy reality in your mind, you are rejecting your physical and non-physical, yes, then it is very difficult to respect yourself. Yeah, because you lack that self-acceptance, the acceptance of what your reality is, and then the acceptance of your own creation, which comes through as a mirror image from the inside towards the external. Yes, and if there is any rejection there, then there is not enough self-respect. And if you lack self-respect, again, you will have difficulty setting healthy boundaries. Yes, because healthy boundaries are the result of respecting yourself enough, accepting yourself enough, unconditionally, no ties attached. Yes, not, oh, today I accept myself because my day is really going well and I'm happy, and then tomorrow something goes wrong and now I don't like myself today, I hate myself, and blah blah blah, all that negative self-talk that prevents self-respect. And then that prevents to set healthy boundaries. And healthy boundaries are important for our experience in this seemingly physical external reality. Yes, because everything is still our projection. But if we do not put a clear message, which are healthy boundaries, a clear message out there of what is acceptable to us, to this physical body and our physical experience here, what is acceptable to us and what is not acceptable to us. Yes, if we're not putting that clear message out there, if we're not respecting ourselves, then that perceived external world will not respect us either and walk all over us. And then we fall easily into this mode of victim mentality and perceive something or somebody on that external reality did something to us. No, that is still our creation. We created that. Yes, whether we're aware of it or not does not matter, but we created that, yeah, where we do not get we do not get respect from that external because we lack that self-respect here, yeah. And the external again is a reflection of what's going on within here, yeah. So if you're upset with the external because you feel you're being walked all over and you're not being respected, that means you lack that own self-respect. Okay? I hope that makes sense. In my body's personal opinion and experience, two of the major signs for lack of self-respect and lack of ability to set healthy boundaries is thyroid issues, which connects to the throat chakra. Yes, not being authentic, not living your authentic self, or not letting your authentic self come through. That will definitely affect your thyroid or your tonsils. If you have a lot of issues with your tonsils, if you have constantly strep throat or any other issues connected to the throat area, it's definitely a sign of lack of self-respect, a sign of not being able to set healthy boundaries, not being able to stand up for yourself, not being able to bring in your true authenticity, and in some cases actually living a lie. That does not mean you're not an honest person, and I explained that in last week's video. You could very well be a very honest person, and in your perception and according to your perspective speaking the truth, but yet living a lie because you're not aligned with your authentic self and you're not allowing your authentic self-expression to come through. Okay, and I set some examples in the previous video, so feel free to go look back at that. But thyroid issues, any issues connected to the throat, yes, or if you get coughs a lot, yes, anything that is connected with this area, if you have issues with your mouth, yes, which is also connected to the throat chakra, all of that is a sign of lack of self-respect, of lack of the ability to set healthy boundaries, of lack of your authentic self-expression. Yes. Another telltale sign of lack of self-respect and the inability to bring in your authentic self-expression are allergies of all kinds, and I mentioned that before in my video. I think it was the video about self-denial, because if you are not respecting and accepting yourself, you have one or another form of self-rejection, whether you're rejecting the physical body or any other aspect of your non-physical self, which could be emotional, mentally, or your true nature, your true essence, if you so want, your spirit, what some people call your spirit or your soul. If you're rejecting that, yes, then you are not able to fully connect and anchor with the physical body, and thus any signs of allergies, whether it's food allergies or if it's allergies to certain contact allergies or whatever kind of allergy, is a sign of not being able to fully anchor in the body, because you lack that connection, because there is some or another form of self-rejection. Okay, so feel free to look back at that video about self-denial and self-rejection where I go into more detail of that. But that is another big sign that you lack self-respect, self-acceptance, that you cannot stand up for yourself, or not completely, that you're not able to fully bring through your authentic self-expression. Yes? So with the ability to respect yourself, bring in your authentic self-expression, and set healthy boundaries, comes the ability to what we would consider have free will and choice, and the ability to stand up for yourself so that the perceived external does not walk all over you, or what people would consider, you know, being walked all over you. Now, I have this body, has always been ever since I was a child, have always been running to my own beat, or playing to my own beat, or whatever you would like to call it. I have never been somebody who follows the crowd, or who follows the herd, or who likes to be told what to do. I have always, ever since I was a child, ever since I was in school, had my own my own head, quite stubborn sometimes, and always wanted or strived to make my own splash, make my own mark, not do what I'm told, but do what feels right within here. And that has nothing to do with just wanting to go against what someone else says. It comes down to, for this body, it comes down to what feels right within here, what feels aligned. I always had that sense that either it's aligned with my soul or spirit, or whatever you would like to refer to, or it's not aligned. And if it's not aligned, then I find my own way, then I beat my own drum, then I make my own mark, or my own splash, or whatever you would like to. It's all labels, but I think just for the sake of comprehension here, I gotta label it something. Yes, so I have never really been somebody who follows the crowd or follows the herd. I have always, and that makes this body sometimes to be an outsider, to be quirky, to not be quite the norm, to not always be accepted, which I accept, because this body comprehends that there are other bodies who like to follow the herd, who would like to fit into a mold, who would like to fit into a norm, and who have no issues with that. And that is okay, because that is your choice and your prerogative. If you feel more comfortable and more aligned by following the herd, yes, then that is totally okay, because that is still an experience that Source Creator Spirit would like to have here. Yeah, whether you're aware of it or not, it has no difference. Yeah, but for this body, I can say that I have always done my own thing. Yes, no matter what was going on this external world, I have always done my own thing. And this body has a hard time complying to external orders. I'll just do it my way. And again, as long as it's in alignment with this, my higher self, spirit, source, creator, whatever, as long as I feel alignment, it's okay. But once I feel that there is no alignment, and for me it feels like there is a resistance in the body to certain things, because it is against my alignment, against my soul, spirit, whatever you want to label it. Yes, and once I feel this resistance, then it's like, no, that's not for me. And this is my way of setting healthy boundaries. I have, through the lifespan of this body, learned very well what is acceptable to me, to this body, and what is not acceptable to this body. Yes, whether that's physical, non-physical, whether that's emotional, whether it doesn't matter. Yes, I have figured out, if you so want, or it's an intuitive internal process for me, know exactly what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, and I set my boundaries accordingly. Yes, so I will make the effort to compromise with situations if the other bodies involved are important to this body. Yes, I will make the effort to compromise as long as that compromise is still acceptable according to my soul spirit alignment. Yes, but if it is not in alignment, then I will say no. Then I have my boundaries in place and I will say no. Yes, and a lot of bodies out there in what we perceive as the physical reality have difficulties saying no because they worry that they offend somebody, that they hurt somebody's feelings, that they're not being accepted, that they're not being liked. And again, this is something that this body has dealt with over the years, that because I do not run with the crowd, because I do my own thing, this body has faced rejection from the external, and that's something that I live with because I accept it, because I also accept that not everybody has the same point of view, perspective, perception as this body. And so everybody has the right to their own opinion. Yes? That doesn't mean that I have to comply with another body's opinion. That's where I set my boundaries. Yes? If it's not acceptable to me, then I put my boundaries, I have my boundaries in place. And it is important, if you want the ability of free will and choice, what people consider free will and choice, your manifestation, yes, comes through stronger if you are in alignment with your authentic self. If you do not align with your authentic self and, so to speak, live a lie because you are more concerned about other people's opinions and whether you're accepted of what you perceive as outside world, yes, then you're living a lie. Then if you're not aligned with your authentic self, then you have a hard time putting up these boundaries. Yes, and these people usually have thyroid issues. Yes, or other throat issues like having a lot of strep throat, people who had to have their tonsils removed. Yes, so you have to look at it as a complete set of the physical and the non-physical. People who have difficulties people who have difficulties expressing their emotions. Yes, if they have difficulties expressing their emotions, then they have some sort of either self-denial or lack of self-respect or lack of self-acceptance for their either physical or non-physical. Yes? So, to speak about if you would like to be able to have what is considered free will and choice in this seemingly physical reality, what we call the world, if you would like to be able to manifest what you wish to see in your physical reality, then it is important to have that level of self-respect and the capability to set healthy boundaries, because that then will enable you to completely bring through your authentic self-expression, which then enables conscious manifestation of what you would like to see. Now, I like to speak shortly about bodies who feel they need to save the world. And I mentioned that before. If you feel the need to save the world, what you perceive as the world, that what we perceive as seemingly external physical reality, yes, then you need to start with self. Again, self-acceptance, self-love, self-respect, the ability to set healthy boundaries. All that is connected with whatever appears in your physical, seemingly physical external reality. Because again, the external is a direct reflection of your inside. That's why every physical body has a different perception of the external. Yes? Because every physical body has a different makeup, different emotions, different mental state, which then determines what we perceive in the external. Okay? And if you perceive the external to have flaws, or to not be treating you right or well, to be walking all over you, to not take you serious, if that is your perception of the external world, I imply you to go within. Because again, it starts with self. If you feel the external needs clean up and fixing, don't worry about it. Fix yourself. It starts within. And once you fix the flaws you perceive on the external, fix within you, the external will start mirroring and reflecting that back to you. Whatever you fix here will eventually fix out there in your perceived external reality. Yes? So it has to start here, within, with whatever you perceive to be wrong or to be needing fixing. Yeah? That's where it starts, within. And if you're not exactly sure where to start, again, there are signs like throat issues, thyroid issues, allergies, that definitely show in this body's experience, show lack of self-respect, the inability to stand up for yourself, the inability to set healthy boundaries, lack of self-acceptance, and lack of self-love. Now that doesn't mean you completely hate yourself. It could just mean you're rejecting a part of yourself, whether that's some emotions you don't want to look at because it's uncomfortable, some memories you hold that are distorted and that are then putting out a distorted reflection, which then reflects back to you distorted. Yes, it all comes down to what is your physical body holding as memories, as emotions, and as DNA. Because even the physical body can hold distortion through the DNA if there has been something down the ancestral line or the perceived ancestral. It's still all you. There's only one consciousness playing and operating through every single physical body, whether that's human or plant or animal, whatever, non-human you want to call it, doesn't matter. It's one consciousness who is creating, manifesting all of this. Yes? So it helps to have that awareness where this outside world, what we perceive as outside, as external, as physical, where it is coming from. Yes? Because once we have the awareness that it is coming from within us, within this physical body, the inside, yes, we have an inner world and an external, an outside world. Yes? And if we perceive the external to have flaws and to be needing fixing, it's the internal that we need to start with. And then the external will follow suit. And I spoke about this before, so I don't want to go into too much detail. But if you feel that the external is not respecting you, is walking all over you, is not taking you serious, is not giving you chances, is not giving you opportunities, whatever it is. Yes? If you have an issue with your perceived external world, it starts within. It starts here. Okay? And the solution to the ability and capability for setting healthy boundaries, again, is self-acceptance, unconditional. Yes, no ties attached. In any situation, you accept yourself, whether it's a perceived good or a comfortable situation, or whether it's for the physical body, perceived not good or negative or uncomfortable situation. Yes, that level of self-respect, self-acceptance, self-love has to be there at any present moment. Yes, and once you have that awareness, and you have the awareness that you are all that is, and that in this dual reality, consciousness plays all sides, from all angles, 360 degrees, what we would call 360-degree angle, all possibilities, all opportunities. Yes, to be able to look at any given situation, at any given moment, from any possible angle. Yes, and once you have that awareness, you lose for the most part, you lose bias, you lose judgment of other perceived beings, you lose judgment of self. Yes, you hold that unconditional, neutral. I'm not saying you don't give a hoot. I'm saying you are neutral to whatever you perceive to be going on, because you have the awareness that all that is still your creation. It is the creation of that one consciousness coming through every single physical body. Yes? The ability of setting healthy boundaries, because that's where this starts, you know. If you mean no, you need to be able to say no. Not wanting to comply with someone just so that someone favors you, or that somebody likes you more, or, you know, whatever the circumstances may be in that situation. Yes? Now that doesn't mean you have to argue with everybody who's not your opinion. Standing up for yourself could very well just mean that you say no, thank you, and walk your way. And this is what this body has been living by for many years. That if I don't get along with another body, if there's differences in opinion, this is being accepted and then separate. If you cannot find common ground, if you cannot agree, and that is completely acceptable, yes, you do not always have to agree on something, but you do not have to argue and fight over it either. You can just walk away and walk your separate ways. Yes, and the ability to do that has a lot to do with self-respect and setting healthy boundaries. Okay, you don't have to start arguments, you don't have to start fights, whether it's verbal fights or whether it's physical fights. None of that is necessary or acceptable. Yes? So, to sum it all up, it is your prerogative whether you would like to follow the herd, or whether you would like to make your own mark in this seemingly physical reality. However, free will and choice you only have if you are in alignment with your authentic nature and your authentic self, and you can make conscious decisions and conscious manifestation, which enables you to bring forth your authentic self and your authentic self-expression. Yes? Now again, for this body, if there is something that is not in alignment, and that doesn't mean I oppose everything that's going on. That's not what this is saying. It's just saying that if there is something going on the perceived external that is not in alignment, it feels wrong, it doesn't feel right, that's just labels. It feels off, you could say. again, for this body, it feels there is a resistance there to whatever, you know, if there is a situation on that external that this body is not aligned with, there is a resistance there, and I can feel it. And some people can feel it like a knot in their stomach, or other things, and I definitely feel there is a resistance there. Yes, and then I know this is not acceptable to me, and if it's not acceptable, I will not even compromise. I will only compromise if the bodies involved are important enough for me to compromise, and I only compromise if the compromise is still acceptable. If it's unacceptable to me, there's no way I compromise anything. Yes? And that comes, that stand or point of view, standing up for your own self, authentic self-expression, comes with self-acceptance, self-love, and self-respect. Because if you lack self-respect, if you do not accept yourself, then you will have a hard time standing up for yourself. Yes, no matter in what situation. Yes? And then if you cannot set healthy boundaries, which is standing up for yourself, means you set healthy boundaries, meaning you know exactly what is acceptable to you, and you go by that. It's acceptable or it's not acceptable. Yes? And sometimes there can be a compromise. But if it's not acceptable, for me, there is no compromise. Yes? So, if you cannot go by that, then you will feel like a victim of external circumstances, like a victim of other bodies out there. Yes? Because your internal isn't there. Your internal is not your authentic self-expression. So if it's not there on the internal, then the external cannot reflect it back to you. Then if there's, let's put it, simply put, if there's chaos in here, there will be chaos out there, and that's what's reflecting back to you. And then it's like, oh my God, what's wrong with the world? So, again, and it doesn't mean that you constantly have to argue against everything, or that you have to fight everything, or that you have to constantly resist everything. That's not what this is saying. You know, there can be things that are acceptable to me that may not be acceptable to you. And there may be things that are acceptable to you that are not acceptable to me. You know, everybody, again, has a different makeup, and so has different point of view, yes, and has different thresholds of what is acceptable and what is not. Yeah? That doesn't make one body or experience good and the other bad. It just means there is different perspectives and point of views, because there's so many different, perceivably different bodies. It's still all one consciousness. But having different experiences through all the different bodies, otherwise it would be boring. Consciousness is playing with consciousness here. Consciousness is playing with itself, so to speak. Yes? When I say heart to heart and consciousness to consciousness, there is only one consciousness having a conversation and a play with itself. Yes? And once you can comprehend that through the heart and internalize that, yes, you lose the bias and you lose the judgment. Because some bodies, perceived bodies on the perceived external reality, may make choices that are not in alignment with you and not acceptable to you. Yes? And to the ability to be neutral in this. And that doesn't mean you have to like it or you have to accept it in itself. But the ability to accept that this other body may make choices that are unacceptable to you, but yet that experience is still loved by consciousness, who is the operator of every single physical body. Yes? It loses, to the majority, it loses the bias and the judgment. Now, it may still come up as judgmental thoughts, but then you can negate that by bringing in unconditional love and acceptance for self, and that will then reflect outwards. Yes? So this is not saying you have to oppose everything, but once you allow your authentic nature to come through, your authentic self-expression, once you connect with that, and that what people call inner guidance, inner knowing, intuition, yes, then you feel, is this in my alignment with the physical body, and that, or is it not? And if it's not in alignment, then you can, if you have enough self-respect and self-acceptance, bring in healthy boundaries where you say, clearly, this is not acceptable. Yes? But you still accept that another body makes a different choice. And I think this is the difficulties we have in this perceived external world right now. That there are so many different choices being made by different bodies, which again, it's all the same consciousness playing out different roles for the sake of this experience here. Yes? And that a lot of bodies feel they cannot be their authentic self because they're not being accepted. Yes? And you don't have to accept their choices for yourself. But if you can accept that different bodies make different choices that are not necessarily in alignment with you, yes, then we can reflect that love and acceptance outwards, and it will then, the external will follow suit and will reflect back to us as love and acceptance. And then some of the traumatic issues we may perceive on the external will start to dissipate, vanish, because they're not being judged anymore. Once that judgment goes, that experience will not show up anymore, because the experience only shows up to reflect back to us. Once it doesn't need to reflect back to us anymore, that experience will not show up in our external anymore. I hope that makes sense. Sometimes it's difficult to explain because it comes up as emotions and as let's say inner knowing, intuition, but it's still difficult to put into words to explain properly or comprehensible. So I hope that explanation is enough to get the message across if you so want. Yes, because this body obviously has an interest of putting out information for whatever reason. Not sure, because it's still consciousness talking to consciousness. But it's what's happening here, so that's what this body is doing. That's all I can say to that. It's complicated. If you have any questions, if you need any further explanation, please let me know. I try to not repeat myself too often. I try, and I know I still do repeat myself a lot. But I try not to regurgitate information over and over. So if you have questions or need additional information, please leave a message. And I hope this video brought some extra information that may have not been in previous videos, or maybe even answer questions you may have had. Again, you can answer all your own questions by going within. It's just that some physical bodies do not have that awareness. Yes, we all have the same information, or rather we all have access to the same information, because we are all one consciousness. Yes, that's what unity consciousness is. It's not so many 100,000 million billion souls come together and form what. No, it is one consciousness that is perceivedly split up into so many different bodies and souls, which is not the case. It's still one consciousness. It's one. Yes, you're whole. That's why I say you're whole and complete as it is, because you are. It is just the limited perception through the physical body that thinks we are separate from consciousness, from creator source. We're not separate. We are that. Yes, but the awareness is not always there. Yes. I would like to thank you for spending the time here, for being present, and I would like to imply you to, if you have questions, just leave a message. I'd be happy to try to answer whatever questions come in. Yeah. And again, it may help to look at previous videos I put out on various subjects. They are all interconnected, and it may help to look at older videos or previous videos. May help to bring in more information that may be lacking in this video. Okay? So again, thank you for being present. The light in me recognizes that same light in you. For we are all one light, one consciousness, one light. Yes? I see you, I appreciate you, I honor you. So much love and blessings.